Hello everyone, Little Bunny here, back with some more Magic the Gathering Arena. Today I have something a bit different. I actually have a pack opening stream. Not stream, video. I'm not actually streaming this. Yeah, Edge of Eternities just released, and I did the pre-order, so I got 50 free or 50 packs, plus an additional 3 packs for, well, they give out 3 free packs whenever they release a new set. And with the pre-order thing, I also got some golden packs, so let's get started. Actually, first, what do they have in the store today? Okay, open space basic lands, sticker emotes. Uh, we'll see about that. If I do the set mastery, it'll be at the very end. Ooh, Japanese showcase styles. That may be worth it for the Starfield vocalist alone. Those are actually pretty nice looking. Decks? No decks. Okay. So, I'm gonna start with the golden packs. Okay, one mythic. Ooh, okay, Infinite Guideline Station. The new, the new spacecraft commander. I believe you can use these as commanders. Yeah, not bad. It's all Wooburg stuff, and, yeah, you can draw you a card for each multicolored permanent you control. Finwixed Verbose Host. Okay, no maximum hand size. Max speed, draw a card, draw 2 instead. That's cool. Time Stop. Already have that. Memorial Vault. Okay. I mean, it's good if you're duplicating artifacts. So, I mean, limited use. In the right hand. Okay, look at top card of library anytime. Cast artifact spells top of library. Artifacts control have tap, add blue, spend mana only to cast stuff from anywhere other than your hand. So it's like a Urza for stuff that's not in your hand. Or I mean, to cast stuff that's not in your hand. That's pretty cool. And a Screaming Nemesis. Okay, next pack. And got a gold card, and I got 2 mythics here. Okay, I already have those. A Sunspine Lynx. Players can't gain life, damage can be prevented. When this creature enters, it deals damage to each player equal to the number of non-basic lands that player controls. Okay, interesting. Runescarred Demon. When it enters, search your library for a card, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. Ooh, okay. Nice search there. Warmaker Gunship. When the spacecraft enters, it deals damage equal to the number of artifacts controlled the target creature or opponent controls. And it becomes a creature at 6+ station, and it's a flying 4/3. Mimeoplasm, revered one. Yeah, as it enters, exile up to X creature cards from your graveyard. It enters with 3+1/+1 counters on it for each creature exiled that way. And for 2, you can make it a copy of target creature card exiled with it, except it's 0/0 and has this ability. Alright. Ooh, okay, I like that. More Boroid. Plant Worm at the beginning of combat and your turn, put X+1/+1 counters on each creature you control where X is this creature's power, which includes itself, so it makes everything exponentially bigger. Well, in relation to itself. It's like, starts off at giving everything +1/+1, then +2/+2, then +4/+4, and so on. We got another 2 mythics. Quest Harvester. Okay, Menace Robot. Exile an artifact from your graveyard, put +1/+1 counter on this creature, and then it deals combat damage equal to its power to any target. Honestly, I don't really like exiling stuff for the most part. Because that just means you can't get that stuff back. Okay, Clarion Conqueror. Flying. Activated abilities of artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers can't be activated. Oh, that just shuts down everything. Wow. Thriving Hive Wolves. Ooh, the Sliver support artifact. Affinity for Slivers. Slivers you control have double strike and haste. At the beginning of your upkeep create 2 1/1 colorless Sliver creature tokens. Okay, I already have that. Ooh, Mox Jasper. Mana Rock for Dragon. Okay. And a Chinook Steadfast second. Oh, that's one of the ones I wanted. Other creatures you control have haste. Artifact cards and red creature cards in your hand have warp. 2 and a red. Yeah, imagine warping out a portal to Phyrexia turn 3. Turn 4. No, wait, no. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn 5? Turn 5. Yeah, that is a really good get. Really good pull. And I haven't gotten to the Edge of Eternities packs yet. Okay, only 1 mythic this time. Homunculus Sword, Authority of the Consuls, Jolly Balloon Man. Hello? Sorry. Got a phone call and I knocked something over, and I'll have to edit this out. Right. Yeah, Jolly Balloon Man. Haste for 1 tap, create a token as a copy of another target creature you control, except it's a 1/1 red balloon creature. In addition to its other colors and types, and has flying and haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. Right form Harmonizer. Okay, landfall. Whenever land you control enters, double the power of target creature control until end of turn. And it has warp. Seer Vandum, Sunstar Exemplar. Vigilance Menace. Whenever another creature you control dies or is put into exile, put a +1/+1 counter on Seer Vandam and you gain 1 life. When it dies or is put into exile while its power is 4 or greater, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Pretty good. And Bahamut. Hold on a second. Alright. Last golden pack. And got 2 mythics. Triple Triad, Elvish Archdruid. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1, and tap 1 green. Add 1 green for each elf you control. Unionist Massacre. Okay, choose Outer Evens. Destroy each creature with mana value of the chosen quality. Then gain control of all creatures until end of turn. Untap them, they gain haste until end of turn. 0 is even. Okay, not bad. Xenomorph Imago. Flying, landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, second creature has base power and toughness 3/3 until end of turn. If you control 6 or more lands, that creature has base power and toughness 6/6 until end of turn instead. You got another Chinook. And Adagio Windswept Bastion. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, it's one of the planet lands. Enters tap for white. At 12 or more station charges for 3 and a white, and tap, create a token that's a copy of target artifact or enchantment you control, except it's legendary. Activate only as a sorcery. So yeah, another way to create tokens, or token copies. Remind you, it's as a legendary, but if your stuff you're copying is legendary, or if you have a mirror box, you're all good. Yeah, just imagine copying a portal to Phyrexia each turn. Right, time for the Edge of Eternities packs. This is gonna be a while. Okay, Mental Modulation. The spell costs 1 less to cast during your turn. Tap target artifact or creature, draw a card. Beamsaw Prospector. When this creature dies, create a lander token. Command Bridge. It's another enters tapped and tap an untapped permanent thing, or sacrifice it and then tap for any color. Although in this case, you can just tap any untapped permanent. So it's a lot more open with what you can use for it. Have it run Skywarden, Reach, Void. At the beginning of your end step, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, apply a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Okay, so far so good. Starfield Shepherd. Flying, when this creature enters, search the library for a basic plains card or a creature card with mana value 1 or less, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle, with a warp cost of 1 and a white. Biomech Engineer. When this creature enters, create a lander token. And for 8, draw 2 cards and create a 2/2 colorless robot creature colorless robot artifact creature token. Also, lander tokens are basically artifacts that you can tap for 2, sacrifice it, and then put a basic land out in the battlefield. And Moonlit Meditation. Ooh, okay, I like this. It's a enchantment aura, enchant artifact or creature you control. The first time you create 1 or more tokens each turn, you may instead create that many tokens that are copies of enchanted permanent. That is really nice. Okay, got a mythic. Right then, Sammy's Curiosity, gain 2 life, create a lander token. Jerk's Fate Maker. When this creature enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample with a warp of 1 and a green. Keveron Turbo Drone. Tap, target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains haste until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Stormcaller, flying. When this creature becomes tapped, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, draw a card. Graveblade Heavy. As long as you control an artifact, this creature gets +1/+0 and has Death Touch. Alright. Pinnacle Emissary. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless drone artifact creature token with flying, and this token can block only creatures with flying, and has a warp of blue or red. That's actually really good. And a mythic wild card. Okay, Radiant Strike, destroy target artifact or tapped creature, you gain 3 life. Thaumaton Torpedo, for 6 and tap, sacrifice this artifact, destroy target non-land permanent. This ability costs 3 less to activate if you attack with a spacecraft this turn. Wormwall Sweeper, when the spacecraft enters, avail 2, and with 6 or 4 more charge, it becomes a 2/2 flyer. Emergency Eject, destroy target non-land permanent, its controller creates a lander token. Intrepid Tenderfoot, for 3, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, activate only as a sorcery. Ooh, Blinkmoth Nexus. So tap for colorless for 1. This land becomes a 1/1 Blinkmoth artifact creature with flying until end of turn. It's still a land. And for 1 and tap, target Blinkmoth creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So what I'm thinking, stuff that doesn't specify non-lands, if I turn this into a creature, I could possibly copy it, make more lands. Maybe. Okay. Or that blue spell, it's like, turn it into a creature, enchant it since it'll be a creature. I don't know if that'll stick on, though. Yeah, I don't know. And Zoophyte Osteoharmonist. So tap, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield as a skeleton in addition to its other types and has no abilities. Activate only as a sorcery. So, cheap creature recursion if you don't care about effects. Or mill something that has high power but is a detrimental effect, and then use Zoophyte to bring it back as just a big beater. That could work. Okay, making Shield Mate, Defender, as long as an artifact entered the battlefield under your control this turn, this creature can attack as though it didn't have Defender. Hole Carver is just a 1/1 with Death Touch. Dockworker Drone, this creature enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. When it dies, put its counters on target creature you control. Virulent Silencer, whenever a non-token artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. Okay, poison support. Nice. Interceptor Mechan, flying, when this creature enters, return target artifact or creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And Void, at the beginning of your end step, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. And the rare Rust Harvester. Already have that. Okay, Peregrine Beckoner. When this creature enters until end of turn, another target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains. When this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control with a warp of 1 and a black. Insatiable Skittermaw, it has Menace and Void. At the beginning of your end step, if any non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, play a +1/+1 to counter on this creature. Earthrust Psionicist. The second spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. That's pretty good. Cryogen Relic. When this artifact enters or leaves the battlefield, draw a card, and you can, for 1 and a blue, you can sacrifice it and put a stun counter on up to 1 target tapped creature. Ooh, Lumbering Falls. Enters tapped, tap for a blue or a green, and for 2 and a blue and a green until end of turn. This land becomes a 3/3 green and blue elemental creature with hexproof. It is still a land. And Secluded Starforge, another land that taps for colorless. For 2 and tapping it, tap X untapped artifact creature's control. Target creature gets +X/+0 until end of turn, activate only as a sorcery. And for 5 and tapping it, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. Okay, not bad. Mechanozoa. This creature enters, tap target artifact or creature an opponent controls, and put a stun counter on it with a warp of 2 and a blue. Gungal Colossus. The spell costs X less to cast, where X is the number of differently named lands you control. Galactic Wayfarer. When this creature enters, create a lander token. Red Tiger Mechan. It has haste and warp of 1 and a red. Hymn of the Faller. Surveil 1 and then draw a card and lose 1 life. And Void. If a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, draw another card. Squire's Lightblade. It's an equipment with flash. When this equipment enters, attach it to target creature you control. That creature gains first strike until end of turn. Equip the creature ++1/+0 and equipped of 3. And Beyond the Quiet. Exile all creatures and spacecraft. Alright, next pack. Ooh, Mythic. Flagjill Scrapper. For 2 and tap, sacrifice another artifact or land, draw a card. Night Luminary. When this creature enters, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token, and it has warp 1 and a white. Wedgelight Rammer. When the spacecraft enters, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token, and at 9+ charges, it's a 3/4 flying first strike. Got a Stomping Ground. Ooh, a Shockland. Is that what a Shockland is? As this land enters, you may pay 2 life. If you don't, it enters tapped for red and it gives red or green. And Strip Mine. Land Hate. Taps for colorless, or you can tap and sacrifice it to destroy target land. Before I continue, I should probably point out what stuff I'm actually looking for. So I'm looking for the planet that's basically Tellurian Academy, where it's like when it's fully stationed, you can tap it to get 1 blue mana for each artifact you control. The planet that's a Gaia's Cradle, where when it's fully stationed, you can tap it and you get one green for each creature you control. The spacecraft that taps for basically it requires 20 charges, but you can tap it and create mana of any one color equal to the number of charge counters it has, so at minimum 20. And the Planeswalker that basically you get an emblem that you can animate artifacts. Okay, continuing on. 46 more. Cav Landseeker, Menace. When this creature enters, create a lender token. At the beginning of the end step of your next turn, sacrifice that token. So basically, use it or lose it. Or basically, you only want to play this when you have 5 mana available. Gene Pollinator, you can tap it to tap an untapped permanent you control and add 1 mana of any color. Atmospheric Greenhouse, it's a spacecraft. When this spacecraft enters, you may put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and at 8+ charge counters, it's a 5/4 with Flying and Trample. Get a Flight Deck Coordinator. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, you gain 2 life. And Lightspell Inquisitor, it has Vigilance. When this creature enters, each opponent may exile a card from your hand and may play that card as long as it remains exiled. Each spell cast this way costs 1 more to cast. Each land played this way enters tapped. Okay. Got rare wild card. Nutrient block, indestructible food token. Tap tap in 2, sacrifice this artifact, you gain 3 life. When this artifact is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. Follower's Faithful, when this creature enters, destroy up to 1 target creature. If that creature wasn't dealt damage this turn, its controller draws 2 cards. So ideally, you'll want to use it on your own stuff. Probably really good with the Sephiroth deck. Rayo Shatter, Enchanted Creature. Enchanted Creature gets -5, -0. When Enchanted Creature becomes tapped or is dealt damage, destroy it. Use Social Engineering. It's an enchantment with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, create a 2/2 robot artifact creature token, and it has warp 1 and a green. So it's like a Chocobo's Raceway, but for artifact creatures. Okay, cool. Possibility Technician. When this creature or another Kavu you control enters, exile the top card of your library. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may play it if you control Kavu. Okay, cool. Zealous Display. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. If it's not your turn, untap those creatures. Lux Knight Breacher. This creature enters with a +1/+1 counter on it for each other creature and/or artifact you control. So, late game, that can be pretty big. Germinating Worm. When this creature enters, you gain 2 life with warp of 1 and a green. Gravkill. Exile target creature or spacecraft. Remnant Elemental. It has reach, landfall. Whenever land you control enters, this creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. And Starfield Vocalist. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes the triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time, and it has warp of 1 and a blue. Depressurized. Target creature gets -3, -0 until end of turn. Then, if that creature's power is 0 or less, destroy it. Orbital Plunge. Orbital Plunge deals 6 damage to target creature. If excess damage was dealt this way, create a lander token. Annul. It's a counter spell. Except it counters to artifacts or enchantments, so not creatures. Unless it's an artifact creature. Or an enchantment creature. So basically anything that's not just like a plain, regular creature. And a space-time anomaly. Target player mills cards equal to your life total. Yay, more mill. Starfighter Pilot. When this creature becomes tapped, mail 1. Memorial Team Leader. During your turn, other creatures you control get +1/+0, and it has warp of 1 and a red. Cloud Sculpt Technician. It has flying. As long as you control an artifact, this creature gets +1/+0. Weft Stalker Ardent. Whenever another creature or artifact you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent with a warp of red. And got a dupe there. Meltstrider's Gear. It's an equipment. When this equipment enters, attach it to a target creature you control. Equipped the creature gets +2/+1 and has reach with equipped cost of 5. Alright, Diplomatic Relations. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains vigilance until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. Exosuit Savior. It has flying. When this creature enters, return up to one other target permanent you control to its owner's hand. Systems Override. Sorcery. Gain control of target artifact or creature until end of turn. Untap that permanent. It gains haste until end of turn. If it's a spacecraft, put 10 charge counters on it. And if you do, remove 10 charge counters from it at the beginning of the next end step. So, you get the counters laid out. Pinnacle Kill Ship. It's a spacecraft. When the spacecraft enters, it deals 10 damage to up to 1 target creature. And at 7 or more charge counters, it's a 7/7 flyer. All Fate Stalker. When this creature enters, exile up to 1 target non-assassin creature until this creature leaves the battlefield with a warp of 1 and a white. So, good for making your own stuff, actually. And Sunset Saboteur. It has Menace and Ward of discard a card. When this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and opponent controls. What? That? Huh. That seems bad. I mean, unless your opponent is playing stuff that requires a maximum low power. I don't know. I will pull more mythics soon. Divert Disaster, controller targets counter target spell unless controller pays 2. If they do, you can create a lander token. Yeah, I apologize if my speech is a bit blur at some points. I'm just kind of tired today. Ugh. Sky Stinger. It has reach. Whenever this creature blocks a creature with flying, this creature gains +5/+0 until end of turn. Glacier Godmaw. It has trample. When this creature enters, create a lander token. And landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance and haste until end of turn. Illvoid Galeblade. It has flash and flying. And for 2, you can sacrifice it to draw a card. Insult the star charts. It has kicker of 1 and a blue. Look at top X cards of your library where X is the number of lands you control. Put one of those cards into your hand. If the spell was kicked, put 2 of those cards into your hand instead. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Rig for War. Target creature gets +3/+0 and gains first strike and reach until end of turn. Nebula Dragon. When this creature enters, it deals 3 damage to any target. Weft Blade Enhancer. When this creature enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures with a warp of 2 and a white. Hailstorm Operator. It has flying. You can tap it to add blue, but you can only spend that mana to cast an artifact spell. Or tap and add double blue, but you can spend that mana only to activate abilities of artifact sources. Got a Caveron Harrier. Whenever this creature attacks you may pay 2. If you do, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token that's tapped and attacking. Sacrifice that token at the end of combat. Oh! Okay, this is one of the ones I was talking about. It's not a mythic. But yeah, Eternity Elevator. It's a 5-cost spacecraft that you can tap to add 3 colorless. And at 20+ charge counters, you can tap it, add X mana of any one color where X is the number of charge counters on the Eternity Elevator. Yeah, this is a really nice mana rock. I mean, just for 5 mana alone, that's 3 colorless. That's already pretty good. That's like the Ring of Lucy for 1 extra mana, and you get 1 extra mana, so already that's pretty good. Okay, Dual Sun Technique. Target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn. If it has a +1/+1 counter on it, draw a card. Decode Transmissions. You draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. And Void. If a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, instead draw 2 cards and each opponent loses 2 life. That's pretty good. 0-point Ballad. Destroy all creatures with toughness X or less. You lose X life. If X is 6 or more, return a creature card put into the graveyard this way into the battlefield under your control. Ilvoy Light Jammer. It has flash. When this equipment enters, attach it to target creature you control. That creature gains hexproof until end of turn. Equipped creature gets +1/+2, and it has equipped cost of 3. Siege Ship Agrarian. When this creature becomes tapped, create a lander token. And landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Sammy, Ship's Engineer. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, create a tapped 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. Terra Symbiosis. Whenever you put a +1 or more +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, you may draw that many cards. Do this only once per turn. Momenan Earththrust Exile. Flying. Whenever an artifact you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And extinguish your battleship. When this spacecraft enters, destroy target non-creature permanent. Then this spacecraft deals 4 damage to each creature. And at 5+ charge counters, it's a 10/10 with flying and trample. Alright, the other thing I want, that's a mythic I believe, is that space station that deals 100 damage whenever you attack. At like such and such charge counters. Ooh, mythic. Okay, Thawbringer. When this creature enters or dies, surveil 1. Frontline War Rager. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Ground Strike Vanguard, Lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control other than this creature. The End Stone. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card. At the beginning of your end step, your life total becomes half your starting life total rounded up. Virus Beetle. When this creature enters, each opponent discards a card. Wait, this is just a new skin of something I already have, I believe. Roving Actuator. Void. When this creature enters, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard. Copy it. You may cast that spell without paying its mana cost. Mechan Navigator. Whenever this creature card becomes tapped, draw a card, then discard a card. Synthesizer Life Ship. It's a spacecraft with 2 plus charge counters at the beginning of combat on your turn. Up to 1 other target artifact you control becomes a artifact creature with base power and toughness 2/2 and gains flying until end of turn. And at 9 plus charge counters, it's a 4/4 with flying and vigilance. Dark Endurance. The spell costs 1 less to cast if it targets a blocking creature. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. And an Entropic Battlecruiser. It's a spacecraft. At 1 or more charge counters, whenever an opponent discards a card, they lose 3 life. And at 8 plus charge counters, it's a 3/10 with flying and death touch. Whenever the spacecraft attacks, each opponent discards a card. Each opponent who can't loses 3 life. Timeline Caller. It has haste. You may cast this card from your graveyard using its warp ability. Its warp cost is black and pay 2 life. Starport Security. For 3 and a white and tapping it, you can tap another target creature. This ability costs 2 less to activate if you control a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. And the Seriema. Another spacecraft. When the Seriema enters, search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, and put it into your hand and shuffle. And at 7 plus charge counters, it becomes a 5/5 with flying, and other tapped legendary creatures you control have indestructible. Alright, 31 more to go. Okay, Auxiliary Boosters. When this equipment enters, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token and attach this equipment to it. The equipped creature gets +1/+2 and has flying, with equipped cost of 3. Tragic Trajectory. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. And Void. That creature gets -10/-10 until end of turn. Instead, if a non-land permanent lets the battlefield this turn, or a spell is warped this turn. Okay, Tractor Beam. Enchant creature or spacecraft. When this enters, tap enchanted permanent. You control enchanted permanent. Enchanted permanent doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Also, sorry if the background sound keeps skipping in the video. I've been occasionally pausing the recording to clear my throat, or like just kind of stabilize myself. Because, like I said, I'm tired today. I have not been sleeping well. That happens when you get a bunch of spam calls happening all the time. Okay, Elegy Acolyte. It has lifelink. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you may draw 1 card and lose 1 life. And Void. At the beginning of your end step, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, or a spell is warped this turn, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to read out the entire Void thing, like Void instructions. That's just like, okay, Void, it does this thing. It's going to make the job a lot easier. Chrome Companion. Whenever this creature becomes tapped, you gain 1 life, and for 2, when tapping it, put a target card from a graveyard onto the bottom of its owner's library. Drill too deep, choose 1, put 5 charge counters on target spacecraft or planet you control, or destroy target artifact. Vault Guard Trooper. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. Monoist Sentry. It has Defender. She's a 4/1 defender. It's not even a good defender. And a gold wild card. Okay, Melded Moxite. When this artifact enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards, and for 3, sacrifice this artifact to create a tap 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. Galvanizing Saw Ship at 3+ charge counters with a 6/5 with flying and haste. Debris Field Crusher. When the spacecraft enters, it deals 3 damage to any target, and at 8+ charge counters, it's a 1/5 with flying and 1 and a red. The spacecraft gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Halia Guided by Light. Whenever Halia or another creature or artifact you control enters, you gain 1 life. Beginning of your end step, draw a card if you've gained 3 or more life this turn. And warp cost of white. Elvoid Operative. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Flightless Evangel. Whenever you sacrifice another creature or artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Cosmoglyph. Cosmoglyph's power is equal to the number of cards you own in exile, and its toughness is equal to that number +1. Or Plate Pangolin. Whenever another artifact you control enters, you may pay 1. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Starbreach Whale, flying. When this creature enters, surveil 2. Warp of 1 and a blue. Terrapact Intimidator. When this creature enters, target opponent may have you create 2 Lender tokens. If they don't, put 2 +1/+1 counters on this creature. Terminal Velocity. You may put an artifact or creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. That permanent gains haste. When this permanent leaves the battlefield, it deals damage equal to its mana value to each creature. And at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice this permanent. Bombard. Bombard deals 4 damage to target creature. Next. Ooh, Mystic. Yay, let's hope it's one of the ones I want. Also a bunch of new cards this time around. Hopefully that's a good sign. Lost in Space. Target artifact your creature's owner puts it on their choice of the top or bottom of their deck, surveil 1. Ice Cave Crasher. Trample. Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, this creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Vanishing Light. It's your standard exiles whatever until this enchantment leaves the battlefield kind of thing, with targeting non-land permanents. Edge Rover. Reach. Whenever this creature dies, each player creates a lander token. Not the planet I wanted. Caveron Memorial World. Taps for a red, enters tapped. And at 12+ station for a 1 and a red. Tap, sacrifice a land, create a 2/2 colors for an artifact creature token. Then creatures you control get +1 and +0 and gains haste until end of turn. That's not a good planet. Selfcraft Mechan. When this creature enters, you may sacrifice an artifact. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature and draw a card. The Sculpting Blast. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If it's attacking, create a create a 1/1 colorless stone artifact creature token with flying, and this creature can block only creatures with flying. Alpha Rail, Dreaming Acolyte. When Alpha Rail enters, draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact card. During your turn, Alpha Rail has Death Touch. Sinister Cryologist. When this creature enters, second creature or an opponent controls gets -3/-0 until end of turn, and it has a warp of blue. Cut Propulsion. Target creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. If that creature has flying, it deals twice that much damage to itself instead. Wild card. That's fine. Wealthstrider's Resolve. Enchant creature you control. When this aura enters, enchanted creature fights up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. Enchanted creature gets +0/+2 and can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. Seed Ship Impact. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. If its mana value is 2 or less, create a lender token. Esteli Reclaimer. Flying. When this creature enters, return target non-creature, non-land permanent with mana value of X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast this creature. And is a warp of 2 and a white. Embrace Oblivion. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Destroy target creature or spacecraft. Bright Spear Zealot, it has Vigilance. This creature gets +2/+0 as long as you've cast 2 or more spells this turn. Blooming Stinger, it has Death Touch. When this creature enters, another target creature you control gains Death Touch until end of turn. Invasive Maneuvers. Invasive Maneuvers deals 3 damage to target creature. It deals 5 damage instead if you control a spacecraft. Tapestry Warden. It has Vigilance. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power stations permanents using its toughness rather than its power. Okay, good for a wall deck. Nanoform Sentinel. Whenever this creature becomes tapped, untap another target permanent. This ability triggers only once each turn. Focus Fire. Focus Fire deals X damage to target attacking or blocking creature, where X is 2 plus the number of creatures and/or spacecraft you control. Biosynthetic Burst. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains Reach, Trample, and Indestructible until end of turn, and untap it. Scour for Scrap. Choose one or both. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, and put it in your hand, then shuffle, or return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand. Loading Zone. If one or more counters would be put onto a creature, spacecraft, or planet you control, but twice that many of that kind of counters... Okay. Twice that many of each of those counters are put on it instead, with a warp of green. Broodguard Elite. This creature enters with X +1/+1 counters on it. When this creature leaves the battlefield, put its counters on target creature you control. Warp of X and a green. Larval Scoutlander. When this spacecraft enters, you may sacrifice a land or lander. If you do, search your library for up to 2 basic lands and put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. And at 7+ charge counters, it's a 3/3 flyer. Got another Infinite Guideline Station. Gravpack Monoist. Flying. When this creature dies, create a tap 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. Molecular Modifier. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. Okay. Archenemy's Charm. Choose one. Either exile target creature or planeswalker. Return 1 or 2 target creatures or planeswalker cards from your graveyard to your hand. Or put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. It gains lifelink until end of turn. Okay, a way to get back planeswalkers. That's nice. Halia Ascendant Cadet. Whenever Halia enters or attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever one or more creatures you control with +1/+1 counter on them deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Dual Sun Adepts. It has double strike, and for 5 mana, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Got a Lumen class Frigate. At 2+ charge counters, other creatures you control get +1/+1, and at 12+ charge counters, it becomes a 3/5 flying with lifelink. Oath of the Storm. It has flying in Ward 2. Whenever this creature enters, creatures your opponent controls get +3/+0 until end of your next turn. Honored Knight Captain. When this creature enters, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token, and for 4 and white, sacrifice this creature, search your library for an equipment card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Anti-Causal Vestige. When this creature leaves the battlefield, draw a card. Then you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield. Tapped with a warp of 4. That's actually powerful. Wow. Okay. Emissary Escort. This creature gets +X/+0, where X is the greatest mana value among other artifacts you control. Wait, I already got Virus Beetle. What gives? Umbral Color Zealot, sacrifice another creature artifact, surveil 1. So, free sack outlet. Pull through the weft. Return up two target non-land permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand, then return up to 2 target land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Okay, down to the final 10. Endless Sands, it's a desert land that taps for colorless, tap 2 and a tap, exile target creature you control. 4 and a tap, sacrifice this land, return each creature card exiled with this land to the battlefield under its owner's control. So, I guess if they're going to destroy a creature, you emergency exile it? I guess? Plasma Bolt. Plasma Bolt deals 2 damage to any target. Void, it deals 3 damage instead. Got another Eternity Elevator. Survey Mechan, flying hexproof. And for 10 mana, sacrifice this creature. It deals 3 damage to any target. Target player draws 3 cards and gains 3 life. This ability costs X less to activate, where X is the number of differently named lands you control. Starwinder, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw that many cards with a warp of 2 blue. The Syrian Voidborn. Whenever this creature or another creature or artifact you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Warp of Black. Zookeeper Mechan, tap for red, and for 6 in a red, target creature you control gets +4/+0 until end of turn, activate only as a sorcery. Eumidian Terrabotanist, landfall, whenever your land you control enters, gain 1 life. Pinnacle Starcage, whenever this artifact enters, exile all artifacts or creatures with mana value 2 or less until this artifact leaves the battlefield. And for 6 white, put each card exiled with this artifact into its owner's graveyard, then create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token for each card put into the graveyard this way, sacrifice this artifact. Vote out. It has convoke, destroy target creature. Vanishing Light. It's another exile until it leaves thing. Gold wildcard. Okay, can I get 1 more mythic pull? Vanishing. I already got Vanishing Light. What's going on? Corral of the Void, enchant creature control. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, put target creature card from defending player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking. Void. Sacrifice it unless you voided. Oh! Sliver Overlord. Not what I was going for, but sure. Missing Quagmire. Land enters tap for black or green. For 1 black-green until end of turn, this land becomes a 2/2 black and green elemental creature with Death Touch. It's still land. Okay, and that is all of them. Okay, ended up with 17 commons, 23 uncommons, 10 rares, and 4 mythic wildcards. I know I'm spending at least 2 of those wildcards on. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. And until next time, take care, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.